What's going on, Internet? Before we get started, I just want to point out that I did a 3-part crossover video discussing all of the Marvel movies with That Movie Chick over on her channel. If you want to go check those videos out, they're really fun. We went through all 20 MCU movies leading up to Captain Marvel, and then we did a joint review of Captain Marvel together. It was a really good time. It was a lot of fun. So if you want to see me and Kate and Corey talk about that stuff, check her videos out. I'll put the links down in the description. Subscribe, check out her Patreon. She makes quality content. Now let's talk Changelings.
Do you ever look at your kids and not recognize them? He's not himself.
Mom, look out!
The Hole in the Ground is directed by Lee Cronin. It stars Shauna Kerslake and James Quinn Markey, and it tells the story of Sarah, a young mother who's running away from her abusive past with her son. And when her son starts acting strangely, she starts questioning his identity and what that has to do with the giant sinkhole in the ground in the woods behind her house. This is an A24 movie that just kind of came out of nowhere. You guys know me. You know I love A24. You know I love folk horror. So it goes without saying that I was pretty hyped for this. So for those of you unfamiliar with the idea of changelings, changelings are a bit of European folklore. They're fairies that are sent out into the real world and they kidnap real people, oftentimes children, and replace them. And what they do once they've assumed the person's identity varies based on the story. But the point is it's creepy as shit, and that's the main crux of this movie, and it didn't disappoint. The Hole in the Ground is a really well-produced film with all of its key strengths on display from its very first shot. The overall presentation of the movie is nothing short of breathtaking. It's gorgeously shot with these really wonderful sweeping wides of the Irish countryside. The color palette is somehow both really muted and also really warm, which is something you don't really see in movies like this often. The movie relegates a lot of its creepy imagery to really wide shots. It just forces you to focus on something in the distance or let your eyes gravitate toward it on your own. There's no cheap jump scares here, just good old-fashioned creepiness. The way they shoot this giant sinkhole, always from high angles, always really wide, it really just shows how massive and fucking terrifying it is. It's absolutely nightmarish, and on a technical level, this movie does so many things right. The performances in this film are also pretty damn good, especially from James Quinn Markey, who plays the son Chris. It's refreshing to see a film like this with actual decent child acting, and this kid really sells both the heartfelt elements and the creepy as shit elements. The film does a really good job at building up Chris's relationship with his mother from a very early point, and it establishes right off the bat a lot of his mannerisms and his quirks, so that when ultimately he is replaced, you as the audience member pick up on it right away and you know something's wrong. Shauna Kerslake, who plays Sarah, gives a pretty solid performance at times, but the writing for her character is awfully inconsistent, and at times she'll be really intense, and at times it'll just feel like she doesn't even care what's happening. Toward the end of the film, she's sinking into the sinkhole, and there's no panic, there's no fear, she's just calm and relaxed, and it's very strange. Honestly, this movie doesn't really tackle any unfamiliar territory. We've seen a lot of this before. We've seen creepy kids. We've seen psychological horror where a character is convinced that another character isn't who they say they are. Goodnight Mommy, The Babadook. We've seen a lot of films that cover this ground, and it certainly doesn't reinvent the wheel. But the sheer confidence in its presentation and its use of Irish folklore make it something worth watching. This movie is goddamn creepy. It's formulaic, and I was able to predict a lot of its beats, and I was still on the edge of my seat solely because of how well it's crafted. Now, it does have some issues, I would say ultimately on the part of the script and its pacing. The movie decides really early on that it just wants to beat you over the head with the fact that Chris is a changeling, and it makes this fact incredibly obvious, which is why I mentioned it earlier, because I don't even consider it a spoiler. It is just so in your face. For me, that was something of a missed opportunity. There's so much room to play around with the psychological horror of that situation. Is he actually her son? Is Sarah just crazy? Is he actually a changeling? He's crawling around animalistically and eating spiders off the floor, but maybe that's just her mind coping with the fact that they're both victims of abuse, and it's all in her head. Nah, fuck that, we're just gonna witness and throw a table across the room halfway through. It's just a waste in my book. The movie blows its load way too soon. On top of that, if you don't go into this movie with an explicit knowledge of changeling folklore, you're gonna have no idea what's going on because this movie does not explain a damn thing. Now, I was fine because I'm a folklore junkie, but for the uninitiated, you're gonna be awfully confused. And I could see some people being really turned off by the lack of answers in this film. All that being said though, The Hole in the Ground is absolutely worth a watch. I'd go so far as to say that it's solid. It's certainly not the best horror film I've seen from A24, but it's one that I'm glad I saw. I don't know if I'd ever really go out of my way to revisit it, but if you're looking for a really well-crafted piece of folk horror with some gorgeous visuals and wildly unnerving sequences, I would recommend you check this one out. It's on VOD right now, and it's a really good time. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, click down there, like, comment, subscribe. For those of you who follow me on social media, I have some exciting news. My film, Lilith, is officially done with post-production. It is complete. It is ready to be viewed by people. We'll be entering it in the festival circuit in the coming weeks, and you guys stay tuned on this channel. I will keep you all updated as to where you can see it. So that's exciting. I'm stoked. Check out my videos with Kate in the description. Check out my Patreon. I have a link down in the description. If you want this channel to grow and develop and help us make new, better quality content for you all to enjoy, please consider donating. Even $1 would help. I would really, truly appreciate it. It would mean a lot to me. But even if you don't, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.
Mommy, where